So I thought I would talk about my favorite books of 2021 so far. It is July of 2021 and I've read 61 books this year. Last year I only read around 30 books, so I think I have done pretty good so far. I'm going to start with 5 books. I'm going to start from my least most favorite to my most favorite. So my least most favorite was Written in the Stars by this lady named Belphua. I don't remember her first name. Written in the Stars, kind of this coming of age romance novel between these two women who are told that they'll be perfect together, and they kind of fake date until they actually date. And I'm not going to say more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but I really enjoyed the story and I think you will too. It's heartfelt and it's difficult and you'll cry, but it's like good tears. Like you'll process your own emotions as they process theirs in the story. After that, I have Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I think every year I just have a favorite book by Marissa Meyer. Her stories are always so well written. Her characters are always explosive. Renegades is about this city where there's heroes and there's villains, but they're called renegades because the villains don't like being called villains. But it's basically about what happens when you have to choose between what you've been told your whole life and what you think about what's actually going on. So it's about thinking for yourself and deciding if it's worth being a hero or if it's worth being a villain, and kind of being a person in the middle of that. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. So you probably know Hank Green from Crash Course or the Vlogbrothers videos. I grew up watching his videos on Crash Course. That got me through a lot of biology. I read John Green's book and watched the movies The Fault in Our Stars. Paper Towns was a TV show, I think. And I read Turtles All the Way Down by him this year, but it's not one of my favorite books of the year. It was really good, not one of my top 5, but I really liked Hank Green's An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and I think I liked it for the social commentary he had to share. I listened to Hank and John's podcast, the Vlogbrothers. I listened to it so many times. It's I just like listening to them discuss what they think about certain things. And I feel like in the podcast, a lot of the time, John has to remind Hank to check his privilege. And I think that through this book, Hank is kind of checking his privilege and exploring fame and social media through his main character, which I really enjoyed it. It kind of talks about like social media and how far you'll go even if you don't want to be famous once you get that attention, and kind of will you put all of humanity at risk just to get a like on Instagram or go on like a late night talk show. So I really like that. And then my top 2 and 1, they're kind of tied. I really enjoyed both of these books. They were so amazing. They were Circe by Madeline Miller and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Kidd. I think Seven Husbands is going to go into number 2. So the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo kind of follows along Evelyn Hugo from when she's a young girl until she becomes an old retired actress, and kind of her life through that, how she's dealt with fame, how she got famous, how she's dealt with that fame, and the relationships that she's had with her 7 husbands, and kind of it's not romance, it's more about her survival and her relevance with the society she finds herself in and how she protects herself. This is just a great read, and you kind of don't see what's coming. You read the story and it's like you're sucked into a telenovela with the drama and the character reactions and just how strong Evelyn is as a main character, that she's just always doing what she can to be who she is, even though no one really ever sees her. And the telling of her story is kind of how she's being able to say her truth. And then my favorite book of the year so far is Circe by Madeline Miller. This story retells kind of the classic myth of Circe, who is considered like the goddess of magic, but she's also a witch. In the Odyssey, Homer never calls her a witch. That language is never actually used, but Madeline Miller does use it in her work, and I think that kind of relates to maybe other classical connections. And I just really enjoyed her work. I read A Song of Achilles last year, and that was very good, but I just think Circe is just another step above it for Miller. Her writing is so lyrical, it's so commanding that, like, if this was 2,000 years ago, her story would be read word for word with how beautiful and how meaningful every sentence is. There's not a word wasted, I think, in how she is able to tell her story. And I think that's a really important part of what makes a good story. A good story is when every word that an author uses tells something to the audience. And I think Miller does that very, very well. So yeah. Those were my 5 favorite books of the year. Let me know what your favorite book of the year was. Have a nice week, everyone. Bye!